Welcome to the Riverview. I'm Mary.
I'm Joy.
I'm Marlene, and Irene isn't feeling well today, so we have Sue taking her place today. So we welcome you, Sue. Thank you very much for filling in at short notice.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you with us. And our guest today is Staff Sergeant Cate Walsh from the Guelph Police Department. So we'd like to welcome you, Cate.
Thank you.
Very
happy
much
to be here.
I just wanted to know if this is your day off or
No, I'm sort of took a couple hours this afternoon to slide up here and visit.
We're very glad that you could do that. Your life history, perhaps?
Oh boy, boring. Maybe my police history would be more interesting.
Well, yes.
So I started policing 24 years ago, right out of University of Guelph. It's actually a very interesting story, to be honest. I was a student, and I was kind of deciding whether I would be a police officer, or sorry, a lawyer or a teacher. Policing, not a lot of women were in policing. I was going to ask any of you, do you have any friends who became police officers?
My niece went in.
Mm-hmm. But no one your ages or?
No,
yeah.
no. See, that my age, anyways, it wouldn't be.
Tommy Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tommy
he's
Wilson, I know that name.
yeah,
passed
he's
away, I
retired.
think.
No, Tom Wilson.
Tom, he
No,
married the...
I was talking to him at St. Joe's.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
I thought
But do you know any
his
women that
wife passed
became
away?
No, they didn't seem to go into it.
Wasn't an occupation
No,
even.
For the women, no.
Bob McCarran.
Yeah,
He's a retired chief.
Bob
He was the
McCarran
chief.
and what was
yes.
the other
She's
one?
meaning
He's in here.
your classmates.
Mm.
Anybody in your
Your
class?
My
age.
classmates.
Yeah,
Right.
women. Any women?
Women, no.
No.
No, and I don't think women really became police officers.
Well, see,
as a
back then it was
concept.
either a teacher or a secretary or a nurse.
Would they have been
Right, you know.
accepted in those days, do you think, a woman as a
For
police
you
officer?
people? Well, I know the first women here had to wear skirts, and where do you think they carried their guns? Any ideas?
Oh, no.
Yeah, in their purse. They carried their guns in their purses.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and then what happened actually was, see, this is more interesting than my history. What happened was there was a policewoman who, Judy Godby, I think her name was, in about probably at least the 70s. It's not that long ago, really. She was wrestling with a criminal in the park, and her skirt kind of flipped up when she was wrestling him, and the chief at the time said, well, that's it, no more skirts. So thankfully, because I don't think I would have done well in a skirt. And even our hats were different. When I started, we had different hats than the men. We had these felt hats that didn't have a brim. They looked more like a meter-maid hat. And the problem was when it rained, they looked silly because we put this big plastic thing over them. So we got rid of those probably in the 90s, the early, mid-90s. We went to the same hats as officers. But a lot of people don't know that the police women do the same job as the policemen. And I remember when I started, people said, oh, they let you have a gun. Actually, we used to have this thing where we had to get our paycheck signed by the mayor, John Council at the time. And someone would take a briefcase up to City Hall, plunk it on the desk, and the mayor would go through and sign all the paychecks. So one time I was assigned to do that. And even he said to me, he said, you're a woman. And I said, yes. He said, are you allowed to go out by yourself? He just didn't know. And I said, yes, we do the same thing as the men. There were only 5 policewomen when I started. So there weren't very many of us. We actually had a broom closet that we would change in because they just, there wasn't a lot of room. And that's changed a lot. Like we have a big locker room, and we're probably 15% of the service is women, but it's really changed.
15% of the Guelph?
15, yes.
Wow.
So there's a lot more women now, and I mean, I think a lot of women still don't want to do it for different reasons. They think it's very physical, and it can be. But they train us and they give us good equipment to deal with that kind of stuff. So that makes a big difference for us.
So after the University of Guelph, then is that like a 3-year course? And then
Well, I actually did a different degree, not knowing I was going to do policing. But Guelph now has a crim program where people can go and study criminology and maybe not just become a police officer, but they can become different things
in law.
Yeah.
So then after you were finished there, then you had to go to
The police college. Well, I got interested only because I was a witness to a case. I didn't mean to be. I was driving home with my friend, and we saw this vehicle stopped, and we thought it was very odd. and there was a bicycle there. So we said to the driver, hey, we almost hit you, and he took off. So we thought maybe he'd abducted someone. We were all, so we called the police. It was just my roommate and I. And it turned out that he'd actually attacked a girl who had left the scene, and we ended up catching him for the police.
Wow.
So the downside of that story is a week after this happened, the girl I was with, my roommate, was killed in a car crash.
Oh my goodness.
So it left me as the only witness for court, which was fine. And the officers that I was involved with, they said, have you ever thought about policing? And I honestly said, I don't like guns and I don't beat people up, because that's what I thought policing was, right? So he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to work with people. And he said, well, that's the right job. And you know what? He was right. I've had a very good, fun career. So, yeah,
that's
so
an
that's how
interesting story.
it's bizarre. I know, it's very, very strange.
Did you ever have to wrestle any of them?
Oh yeah, yep. But you know something? And women, we all have it, right? The gift of the gab goes a long way when you're dealing with somebody. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Can talk people into. I had a big guy once years ago that there was a warrant for his arrest, and I'd stopped him on a traffic stop. Nowadays we're a lot safer. We wouldn't do that on our own, but this is back 20-some years ago. And so I went to him and I said, you're under arrest. Can you get out of the car? Well, he got out and he was gigantic. And I said, there's a warrant for your arrest and you have to come with me. And he said, well, what if I don't want to go? So in my mind I'm going, this is going to be trouble. But I said to him, well, you have two options. One is you and I are going to fight, and you may get the best of it for a while, but there's going to be a lot of officers coming. You're going to go to jail unhappy and probably not get out tonight. I said, or we can go to the police station. I'll tell my supervisor that you were cooperative and you may get released. It wasn't a really serious warrant. So he looked at me and I'm thinking to myself, please pick B. And he did. He got in the car and off we went. And, so sometimes you can talk to people and not always.
Very good.
So that was kind of,
Do you work in pairs?
Because Guelph is a municipal police force, because we're a city, usually they send more than one officer on any call that they think might be problems. So
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so usually they send two cars, so there might not be two in the car, but there'll be two sent. So sometimes, depending on how many people are in to work, we work in pairs, and sometimes we work individually. But
Well, you need the support of, another officer with you, yes.
And it's a nice sized police service because we're not so big.
Big like Toronto.
No.
No.
You probably know most of the people, or at least their faces, in the whole organization. So it's nice. Yeah.
What division do you work in?
Right now, I'm the supervisor of the communication center. So anyone that calls in on 911 or the regular police line, we have people that answer the calls, and also people who talk to the officers, dispatchers on the radio, like Sue. And so my job is to supervise that unit. There's 24 civilians that manage that unit, and they do a great job. So, and they actually gave me today. We have Laura is our trainer auditor in that unit, and she gave me these cards to give you, and they're really good cards if you ever have to call 911. Because they tell you things that you should describe. The first thing you need to give is your name and your address. And I know people think, because all of this computer stuff, we know who you are by the screen, but they need to make sure that's who it is. And then things like, where's the intersection near your house?
I experienced that when my husband was so sick that night, to direct the ambulance out to the rural address. They had a general idea, but they asked for that intersection as well.
It's tough, and when
you're upset, it's hard to think about it. So then you suggest you have that written down and have it near the phone.
Yeah, or at least have this part there, because and they want to know what's happening. But your name and your address. I know everyone thinks they know it, but when you're nervous, sometimes it just leaves your mind.
Especially now in the country with all these. With the fire numbers, there was no more this RR1 errors type of thing. You have to give.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how old anyone is. Well, except you. But there was a day when you called the police, you had to dial the whole. Remember the dial phones? I remember the dial phones. Did any of you do you ever any of you have to call the police? You were saying for your husband.
That's the only time I call.
Yeah, I don't remember ever calling.
I may have to call for Mary's behavior's been terrible.
I've had to call because someone breaking in. I was a PSW, so I used to, at that time I would be away for 4 days. And an unusual situation came up, and I was home. And just as I was going into the washroom, this head popped out the window. But I mean, as soon as he saw me, he laughed. But
So what did you do then? Did you call, what number did you call?
called 911.
And what did they say? Do you remember when they didn't say hello probably?
No.
Did they
Was
say
your emergency?
police, fire, or ambulance? Yeah.
No, I'm from New Brunswick.
Oh,
and
maybe
at
they
that
didn't.
time- This was years ago, so
Yeah.
at that time it was, what is your emergency? So-
Yeah. And that's the thing, people don't realize that if they need an ambulance, they have to stay on the line and get put through, or the fire, ours only respond to the police stuff.
But I like how they keep you on the line.
Yeah.
It really makes you feel confident. Like,
Sure.
yeah,
How
that's
about you,
very
Mary? No
nice.
police? Have you ever had to call the police?
Just when they came to arrest me.
Wow.
Give us more details.
Yes. She probably gave them a drink of her Charlie.
Charlie, what is the Charlie?
She keeps it in her room, doesn't give it to us at all.
He's in my refrigerator.
It's legal though,
It's
right?
wine.
Oh, it's legal wine though. It's not like that homemade, what do they call that? Brew?
So when you were finished at the police academy, then did you come right to Guelph then?
Yes, they actually, back then they hired you with the police service, then you went to the police college.
Oh, I see.
And it's near London, it's
Yes.
called Air Force Barracks.
Aylmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you train there and then you come back and you're with a coach officer, and I had a really good coach officer, and that really helped me a lot because there were a few men back then that would openly tell you that women shouldn't be police officers,
Yes.
but they didn't think there was a place for them. I don't know if you guys ever had any other occupations that you can remember when you were younger where it was kind of discouraged for women. I don't know.
No, but when you stop and think about being a police officer, I think you have to have a lot of to go and be a police officer.
Courage, I
Like,
guess. Yeah.
Yes, yes, especially a woman. I mean, a man, if that's what they choose, that's fine. But a woman, I think you you deserve a lot of credit, a lot of pat in the back for even attempting it. Then, yes, yes. But I think it's great to have the women in the police department because then there's two sides of it, like of anything that's going on.
It's really helpful at a domestic where a husband and a wife or a
I'm
male
sure
and
it
a
would be.
female are arguing a lot of times.
yes.
Sometimes you'd be surprised. Women turn on women just like they would on men.
Oh, yes,
And the same. But and with small children, sometimes they're better with women, sometimes not.
Yes.
But lost children or children have to report something that's very, troublesome. But
Yes.
I don't know what other jobs I would say women of your generation would have struggled with getting into, like firefighting.
Yes, the firefighting would be another one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever been really, really, really frightened to go on
Oh,
anything?
sure. Yeah, but you kind of have to get over it. You get to be scared for a second and then you've got to get running. And your training kicks in and
Yes.
yes. Sometimes how you talk to people really helps.
Yes.
You have trouble trying to get them into the car.
Well, it's funny because when I was really, really new, I had two big drunk guys that I got in. And when I got to the station, I kind of charmed them in by saying, come on, this is fun. And then when they got in, they realized where they were because they were not very smart. We don't arrest a lot of smart people, and these particular two weren't. And we got to the station, and my supervisor said to me, he goes, how the heck did you get those guys in the car? Because it took a few of us to get them out. So, yeah.
Well, that's quite a life that. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you came today, and thank you very much, Cate and Suze, for joining us today. This has been a real knowledgeable.
Thank you for watching the RiverView. I'm Marlene.
I'm Joy.
I'm Mary.
I'm Sue.